Hi guys, it's us, Cindy and Tiffany, your two
Hi.
hosts. Hope you
Hi,
guys are
guys.
well. Hey Cindy.
Hi, Tiff. Can you hear me?
Well,
You can hear me, right? You can hear me?
yep, I can hear
Okay.
you. I
All
can
right.
hear you. So it's after the election, it's after the results, it's
Oh,
after all the anxiety, drama, campaigning, everything is, for all intents and purposes, everything is over and done with,
yeah.
right?
Ay,
So
Dios mío.
yo sé, no, no sé. Es, ¿cómo se dice? Crazy en español.
Loco.
Sí.
Loco.
But everything is over. So now the next step in the process, aside from the suits and the lawsuits and the legal drama, which each candidate is always entitled to dispute
Yes.
or contest
Yes.
anything that they feel is an irregularity.
Yes.
The burden of proof is on that candidate to bring that irregularity to the
Yes.
courts and see. So the next step after that, depending on this decision, is the electoral college meeting. They meet the second Wednesday.
Yeah.
The second Wednesday in December. So they're going to make the final,
Yeah.
and this is always par for the course. They always meet for the second Wednesday of December. So that's when they actually formally elect the president for the United States, and they'll start in January.
So I looked it up. I think that's the 14th of December.
Okay, so December 14th.
Yeah, but they have something to do before that. I read they have something called a slate. They have the slate of electors have to meet to make sure there's no issue. So they meet like the 8th.
Okay.
To make sure that all issues are resolved, and then they meet on the 14th to vote.
Okay, and that's why this last most of the court things have to be done. And resolved.
Everything has to be resolved before they vote.
Yep. So that's what's taking place. Now, a lot of people have been asking, why has the count taken this long this time? This is not anything unusual. Well, it is in some forms or fashions, because what usually happens is the mail-in votes are counted toward the back end. The reason we know the election for the most part is because most elections are not as close as these are, and we didn't have a pandemic. So the pandemic actually threw a wrench in the entire thing. And if you guys remember, sometime back in like August, a lot of states were going to court trying to figure out if they could, well, specifically Pennsylvania, yes. Yeah, they wanted to see if they could start their count a few days prior, but their state constitution and law says they cannot count absentee or mail-in ballots until the day of the election. Now, what's different this year? They've received a lot of mail-in votes because of the pandemic. So that's why the count is taking so long. So the count usually takes this long. So it's not anything unusual. It's just we have an inundation of, we're inundated with mail-in ballots in different states. So
let me say something about that. The turnout of the vote was really, really huge, but like normally they project the winner Tuesday night based on what they know they have left.
Yep.
But because they had so much left over, then that's what happened. They had so much they couldn't project, because it was like, oh my God, we got like 3 million votes left. We can't project a winner with 3 million votes left. But if it was like 50,000 votes left, then they would have been able to say, okay, he ain't gonna make this ground up. He lost. But that's the difference this time.
Right. So let's say there's a candidate, there's 20 votes total, or 20 votes. One candidate has 12, and there's only, the other candidate has 4. There's only 4 more votes. He's not
making it up.
You can automatically say this is the winner, and that's usually what happens on election night. So when we see the projected winner, it's always projected winner until the count is.
So because he's mathematically eliminated.
Right.
And remember, they had military, they had a lot of provisional people that if you moved during the time and you didn't get a chance to register, you could still vote, but you had to do a provisional vote and then come back later and prove who you were. And that's why you saw Nevada lines was long like Friday.
Yep.
So that people had to come in and show their ID. Then they had a lot of new registered people that registered newly, young people. Remember, there was the people that just got out of jail. A lot of people that maybe couldn't vote or just got the vote. They didn't have a voter registration. They weren't on the lots. You could still vote. But then or if you got a duplicate, like you got a ballot in the mail, and then you decided, I want to go in person and vote, which is what I did. I did mail my vote, but because I kept tracking it and it wasn't in there, I was like, let me go to the polling booth, and they let me vote there. So now they receive my vote in the mail. They're gonna be like, she's duplicate voting. So then no, that's why I told them.
They have to scratch that. They will scratch the voter records. They cross-reference. So when people say fraud, you're on the record.
Yeah, you sign.
So if you can vote twice, I mean, people could vote. And who the hell is going to stand on those lines 3 and 4 times?
With COVID.
So I mean, that's why they have voter registration polls in a listing. So you really can't, even if your mail-in ballot would have reached, they would have said, well, Cindy already voted. So that
I think mine, I'm assuming, because this is the first time I did mail, but I'm thinking my signature didn't match, because when I went in to vote in person, it did look different than how I signed it on the paper. Whose signature is the same after 10 years, 15 years?
No, they asked me to sign, like, I had my ID, I had to sign a few times, because I'm like, I signed this way after, like you said, years. I haven't renewed my license in forever. So like my hand is a little more less steady, so you never know.
And I knew when I was signing it, I was like, this is not going to look the same, and they're going to give me a problem. That's why I tracked it. It, guys. You must track your vote. Track it.
And that's in the future. So like we said, what the mail-in ballots caused a longer count. And if you remember in 2000, Bush versus Gore, they actually had the same issue with Florida because the count was close. So Bush did not concede until like December 13th. Like he didn't concede.
You mean Gore? You mean Gore, right?
Gore, sorry.
No. I'm listening.
He didn't concede until December. So
and the courts had to kind of force it.
Right. And so I don't want to defend the current president. Well, I mean, I can't say I don't want to defend him, but in his defense, when you lose something, anyone knows that when you lose, it's hard to concede that you lose.
Sports teams don't want to do it. Sports teams don't want to do it.
8-year-old in trouble, and when he's winning, I'm so mad. I want to flip the board.
Yeah.
That losing something this big is hard to concede to. So
especially when you promised people you were going to win.
Yeah, we can all acknowledge that. So, like I said, there's different states with different rules for counting their mail-in ballots. There's 27 states that can count before the date. 19 states plus DC can count upon receipt. And then 4 states can count only on election day and further. Wisconsin, Mississippi, Alabama, and of course, Pennsylvania.
Wisconsin, wait, say it again. Wisconsin,
Mississippi, Alabama, and Pennsylvania. Those are the 4 states that have to count on election day forward. The others can count upon receipt, or they have different rules for before election day. Some are 3 days before, some are within the week. Florida, as you see, our count is done because they can count upon receipt. When they receive it, they can begin counting it. So that's the whole thing around what you guys are hearing and seeing and why the count is taking so long, just to clarify that. So we want to get into, and I just want to also point out, when you make it easier to vote, people vote. When you make it easier,
proven,
take the process, to participate in the process, people participate. So I just want to throw that out there for you guys that, are wondering where or why we should, get involved in that process. So it's easier. But let's talk about the historical nature of this election. That's why I'm wearing my John Lewis Good Trouble thing.
I love that. Gosh, she didn't tell me she was getting that shade.
No, what that? My mom bought this when he died, when John Lewis died, she bought it. And I was like, oh, it's a good time to wear it right now.
But you and I have always loved trouble. So that would be a great shirt.
So what are some of the historical factors of the election?
I could say that in watching, no matter who you voted for, red, blue, Democrat, Republican, in watching, I was most proud to see the youth turning out in big numbers. I was most proud to see people combating suppression. Because like when you tried to suppress, you had people opening up stadiums. You had drive-through voting. So like how innovative we can be when we really want to be, we really wanted more turnout. So we made it more turnout. I was also proud to see that certain Black women in like Georgia and places like that, like Stacey Abrams, who felt like, cheated in her election a few years ago. She didn't go angry and say, I'm never voting again. She flipped it. And so they did a lot of great, and not just her, but they did a lot of great work in getting the vote out. And to see Georgia flip, no matter who you're for, that is historic. Georgia is a Southern state. Yeah. And I think they've never, other than maybe, who was it? Clinton.
92?
Never. And then maybe, what's his name? The Peanut Man. What's his name? Jimmy Carter.
Oh, okay.
Jimmy Carter. Yeah. They call him, they call him Peanut Man. I think those are the only two maybe who were able to flip it. But Georgia is generally, it'd be like flipping Texas. And then even when I was watching, to even see him being competitive in Texas. Yeah. And the turnout in the cities, the turnout in Michigan, in Detroit, turnout in like Houston, like just big turnout, Atlanta, the surrounding areas of Atlanta. Also, can we acknowledge that your Good Trouble guy, his county was one of the deciding counties. Yeah. John Lewis, one of his, what was it, Clayton County, I think they said, or whatever county in Georgia.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with
that. They were talking about it on the news that one of his counties was one of the, and I was like, man, if he could have lived to see that, So not gonna steal the stage. I know you're jumping and we'll cut each other off. What else? What did you think?
No, I was asking you, or we were.
Oh, you wanted me? Okay, yeah, just
historical nature. There's so many. First of all, we know
so many things.
The glass ceiling is shattered. We no matter what, it's a historical. The glass ceiling is shattered. Vice president.
I had a friend that texted me last night, are your feet bleeding? I was like, are my feet bleeding? Are your feet bleeding? I was like, what are you talking about? Are your feet bleeding from the glass ceiling from all the glass that's shattered and being broken? And I was like, oh, I didn't even get that. But that, as well as, you know what else? I think the minority vote, the turnout was so high, you cannot be ignored.
Yeah.
Next election, you put pressure. That's the pressure you put. When you see, hey, they will turn out when they're frustrated. And we're making them frustrated. Due to all the social unrest this year, people were really frustrated. Yeah. So to now see that we can't just assume we got them. Democratic vote. Yeah. A lot voted Republican. Yeah. A lot voted other. So they're not only called woke, but they're called voting woke. And that's a dangerous combination. And then to see the parties in the streets after. Oh, I think that's unheard of. I don't think I've ever seen a party in the street over a candidate being elected. Have you?
I know there was a lot of celebration when Barack was elected because that was historical in nature, but I don't think the level of jubilation that I saw and across the world. When Paris is tolling bells. But Tim, you called me. I didn't know. Because I waited and waited on Saturday because I knew it was going to happen on Saturday. But I was sitting around, it was 11. I was like, oh man, I'm going out for a walk. I'm with my earphones on, making my way downtown, walking. I hear all of this screaming and yelling at people. I was like, what? So I'm looking to start running. I'm in the hood. I'm looking at, okay, I got a book. Tip Deck texts me, it's over. I was like, what? So I called her, horns honking, fire ambulances, everybody honking, people on their stoop dancing and partying. I was like, I've never seen that before. And it's curious because that was in the current president's home state, my home state of New York. Yes. So that's really curious that twice he lost his home state, which says he couldn't win. A lot. Because I always tell people, no matter what, when you look at the people that know you best, we grew up with him. I grew up with him. Seeing and hearing all the intricacies of what was going on with him, that as a person. So when the people that know you the best are rejecting you. That's a pretty
That's a big.
big
Well, that's why people were looking at Pennsylvania.
Right.
Because they were like, oh my God, Pennsylvania, because early on, it looked like he was losing. Me and you were losing our mind.
I was like, how could he lose his home state?
Guys, we were going bananas, texting. Oh my God, because if you really don't, we're politics, but I think we learned a little more about that slow burn process that we didn't see before, because we usually just wake up and the president is announced.
Yeah.
This was a different story. So we were back and forth going, oh my God, he's down by like 3 million votes in Pennsylvania. There's no way. Yeah. So back and forth. I'm like, he's really going to lose his own state.
Yeah.
So that would have been humiliating.
Yeah. And like, well, let's talk about some of the, of course, the obvious is there's a Black woman as the VP elect, but there's also, I mean, that, first of all, let's say woman, that's first. There's an African-American woman. There's a South, what is she? South Asian American woman.
Jamaican and Asian.
Yeah, she's also the first HBCU graduate. Also,
her sorority.
Her sorority, I think she's an AKA. She's the first one from that type of sorority to enter into the elite, the top of the elite of the political spectrum. So there's so many different, I mean, for the history book, they're gonna have to just say,
I don't know what they're gonna, I was a social studies teacher. I would have eaten this like meat, just like analyzing the causes of it. What were the things leading up to it? What was the feeling in the country? Why people vote? You know, guys, this is, if you tuned into us, we are really, really, really poly chicks. On his end, the oldest president.
Yeah.
It's very hard to flip a race, an incumbent. It's very hard to beat a person that's already in office. Yeah. Usually people vote for the other, like the two other people that lost. Now, Trump is the third person to have this distinction of a one term. It's usually because of a recession. And I think I'm gonna hurt myself by quoting who, I think it's Wilson. It was like before the Great Depression happened. And then there was George W. Bush, because of the war and all that and the economy. And that's how Barack Obama, you know, that group wound up getting a bad economy. When the economy's bad, people are ready.
Remember, it wasn't George W. Bush wasn't the one that had the first.
Oh, the first Bush. I always get them mixed up. The first Bush.
The one, and I think Bill Clinton unseated him.
Right, Clinton unseated him. Right.
He was so young and inexperienced. They didn't really take him seriously either. So
right.
One that flipped Arizona, because that was his. Well, no, he flipped Arizona in 1996. That was his second term.
He flipped Georgia, right?
Georgia?
He flipped Georgia. He flipped Georgia.
Kind of like the same thing that Biden did. And one of the other things that's so interesting is that however many years to the day he actually got elected the president.
Who, Biden?
Yeah, the same day he was elected senator. He was the youngest senator.
Oh wow! Yeah, now he's the oldest president. He's ran about 3 times. He has about 3 failed attempts at getting this. But guys, if you know one thing, if you looked at our other video, how you like to plug on understanding the Electoral College, the map is for America pretty set in stone, right? In general. That's why I said we're not necessarily a democracy, because the map is kind of like, there's a rule to how you win if you're one party or the other. So Trump knew going in, if I don't win Pennsylvania, I'm out. If I don't win Wisconsin, if I don't win Michigan, I'm out. Florida. So those were like the 3.
Florida was a must win.
Florida was absolutely a must win. There was kind of still a path, but he would have had to sweep. Florida and Texas, a Republican candidate must win Florida and Texas. Must. Because those are the big chunks. And they don't have Democrats have a lot more votes than the Republicans on the map. That's why there's a path. If you break the Democrats, so that's why you see right now he's contesting Michigan. He's contesting Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. And maybe even Nevada, right?
Nevada Arizona.
Or Arizona, one of those.
It's like a lot of them.
Yeah, so that's why, guys, if you're wondering like why he's contesting here, you know, what's this about? It's a strategic plan, because those states he was supposed to win. He's not going to contest somewhere he's not going to contest New York. It's too many votes. So anyway.
Yeah, so like we said, this election had all eyes on it, like Tupac. All eyes was on it. I hope you guys learned something, and just even if you are not on one side or the other, appreciate the historical nature of the entire thing. I mean, as a woman, as a Black woman, as an South Asian American woman, like it's just so many historical references in this moment that we should
and the other ones, before I know we can wrap it up, the other ones are like, people are now nervous about the violence, nervous about what will he do up until the 20th. Will he sabotage? Because now, okay, once Congress gets, so what happens for Joe Biden to actually become the elected president is the new Congress has to come into session like January, the first week in January. Then they are the electors. I mean, they get the electors to come in, they all sign off and vote. But we didn't talk about what happens if some of them decide not to vote for the president. Do you want to talk about that or no?
No, because we already discussed that in our electoral. Watch the Electoral College video. We did discuss what happens.
We discussed faithless electors over there.
Yep.
You know me.
We talked about it. So
guys, I'm older than she is. I'm way older.
And if you guys have questions, you can always reach out to us at gmail.com.
Yeah.
We appreciate topic references or topic suggestions, I should say. Oh my God.
Suggested topics? Topics?
We appreciate that. And before we wrap, I did want to just go over we talked about the civic organizations, and I'm going to discuss it on a next video as well. But I just wanted, if you're watching this in succession, to talk about the civic organizations that you can be a part of. You can, there's a lot of organizations like Rock the Vote, Faith in Action.
Move On.
Emails, moveon.org. So if you Google it, you can always join one of those organizations. We talked about the school board, go into your community board. The school boards, you don't have to necessarily have a child to join it. And
it's your community school board. It's your
right. So that's something that you can get into. But there was one thing that I saw online. It says you can invest your time, your treasures, or your talents. So those are things to keep in mind. Just because you don't have the time, you can invest your talent and draw. If you're an artist, you can draw something for the movements that are going on. So you can always find a way to get involved and get activated. So I just wanted to ensure that you guys had that information. Like I said, I'll present it on the next.
Right. But what happened with George Floyd's murder? Once you sign up to petition to protest, you'll get a whole bunch of emails from different organizations. So then from that, you can just Google those organizations. So if you can't remember, well, oh my God, what this, you could just, when you do when something happens, just go to Black Lives Matter or something like that, one of those organizations, and then you'll start to get emails. And so you decide which ones are your affiliation or not, which ones you want to go for or not. So there you go.
Yep. All right, guys. We always say you can subscribe, like us, follow us,
share
at gmail.com. We're on YouTube, Two Poly Chicks, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of it. Two Poly Chicks.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Bye, guys.